These are my dear friends, my mentors, my teachers. When I say that these two people matter so much to me, gems in this world, like I truly mean it. They're experts in their field. And I would like to jump to Joy first to introduce you to this powerful woman. Joy is a spirit channeler, a soul developer, and she is somebody who's in channeling I deeply, deeply value. She's been so important on my own healing journey of understanding what's happening in the collective consciousness and also in the personal psyche, what's happening within me. And I'll hand it off to her to share who she is.
Thank you, Roman. I think you said it very well. I am a channeler. You can call it a medium. I'm a energy healer, a reader. I do also have some background as an employment counselor and studying different cultures. I've done a lot, but what I love doing is helping people find themselves through their connection with spirit.
Hmm.
And I don't think I can put it in other words than, that is really the essence of what I do.
That's beautiful, Joy. Well, that's why it's so hard to explain what you do because you have to watch it in action, and it's so beautiful. And we have Dr. B, who is a clinical psychologist, who is also a therapist of mine. He's a friend, a colleague, and all around also amazing human being. So, Dr. B.
Okay, Raman, thank you very much for the nice introduction. And the appreciation is mutual. I am a retired assistant professor of psychiatry from Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. I began my work in the field of mental health in 1970, so I'll be coming up on 55 years this year. Began with research in schizophrenic thought disorder at Michael Reese Hospital. I have a publication in regard to schizophrenic thought disorder. And from there, I moved on to the Illinois State Psychiatric Institute, and there I was a research chief in the Laboratory of Biological Psychiatry. I have a number of publications in pharmacology as well as psychiatric diagnosis. And then from there, I went to Rush University Medical Center, where I was part of the faculty and participated in the NIH study of psychobiology of depression. Spiritual work I've done began, I guess, in my childhood. I was known as Yogi by my teenage friends because of my interest in yoga. I was introduced to a Jungian analyst from India, Dr. Vasavada, who was a major mentor in my life. I've read and studied the major religions and value each religion for what it offers spiritually to individuals. Currently finishing a book. The book is called All Feelings Are Good and Right, an owner's guide for the human experience. I might change owner to user. I heard a commercial yesterday with Harrison Ford. It started this way: none of us have been given a user's manual for our experience. And then he ends up with, and this is all about freedom, which is the title of the last chapter of my book. These kinds of things, synchronicities, are part of the spiritual life, that when we open our minds, our psyche to reality that we aren't part of nature, we are nature, we aren't part of the universe, we are the universe in particular time-space points. There's this wonderful interconnectedness that happens, and these meaningful coincidences really support the awareness that we are more than just individuals on this planet.
Dr. B just beautifully put it. He's actually gathering all of this and putting this in a user's manual. These times are so difficult right now, or at least seemingly difficult. We're cyclical beings. Even history repeats itself often. And it feels like a lot of pressure. Each generation has its own shadow to face. And right now, the shadow feels pretty big. And it feels it's causing insanity. A word that kept popping up between the three of us was insanity. How do we bring balance to ourselves and the collective through healing? How can we navigate through these difficult times? What do we need? What are some strategies we can utilize? And you have two experts here in their field really sharing that knowledge with you. Hopefully, you're able to sit with a cup of coffee or tea and a journal and get ready for a very cozy, beautiful discussion between these very heart-centered people. Both of them have such a big heart to help humanity. And first of all, to be centered ourselves, but also to give back to the collectives. I'm going to stop right there and pass it on to Joy. What is your take on these times from the spirit channeler, soul developer perspective? What are you seeing that are the core wounds that are coming up?
Shadow. I would say shadow is really coming up, and the core wound is facing our own shadow, facing it within ourselves and facing it within the collective, and not be afraid of it. I'm a big believer that this universe, first of all, I believe in the multiverse. I believe in God of energy, that we are not the only one, that Earth is not the only planet. I have to say that because if not, it's not going to really make that much sense. But for our journey on Earth, I really think it is about duality. If you look at Taoism, for example, you have the Tao that nobody knows what is, but it is the way. The Tao is the way. And then you have the yin and yang here on Earth, which is the balance between the feminine, the masculine, night, the day, the moon, the sun. I really do believe that one of the things we are here on Earth to master is the duality, not to lose ourselves in the duality, but find ourselves together within this duality and not be afraid of it. Through shadow, we can find light. Through light, we can find shadow. And neither has to be scary. It becomes scary when we start depending on other people's opinions, when we start depending on others to make decisions for us. And I'm a big believer in going with the flow, but there's a difference between going with the flow that is internal, authentic, because your soul is connected to the source factor and you are guided from the source and going through the flow with source, versus somebody said something on TV. Even if it is a religious leader, even if it's a spiritual leader, never give your power away. Your power is your soul. I'm a real big believer that all your power sits in your soul. And we're not talking about the power of politics, the power of money, the power of being famous. Though in America, that gives you a lot of power in the human world, in the material world. And seeking those things will be, I would say, detriment to your soul if you do it from the wrong reason. There's nothing wrong in having fame. There's nothing wrong in having power. But if you are doing that all for your own benefit, you are neither serving yourself, serving what other people call God or source or the universe, nor are you serving your fellow souls. So if you are able to look for the power inside of you and look for the power of your soul, and once you step into that power, you will always be connected because that's your birthright. The birthright of a soul is to be connected to source, not to feel separated. And then you will truly have guidance from there, and you will stop giving away your power. You will stop running, looking for your cheese. One of my favorite books, Who Moved My Cheese? There is so much misunderstanding of what we are here for. And a lot of people just want material goods and just want to be famous or have that power. And for those who are struggling with that right now, I recommend you picking up the book, The Art of Power, by the famous Vietnamese monk who has a little bit of a difficult name that I cannot pronounce. But if you went in and asked in any bookstore for that, they would be able to give it to you because it really speaks of what I'm speaking of here. And in truth, we are here to be. We all come in with a mission, and we all come in with a mission to serve. And it's never about sacrificing who we are or sacrificing for others. There are a few lives that are maybe in that sacrificial, but that's not the masses. We are here to serve and lift. Stay in the light by understanding our shadows, but never by giving our power away, by listening to others that do not have our best interest in mind. And even if they have your best interest in mind, they might not understand you well enough to actually know what's best for you. Only you will know that. So listen to that inner voice and listen to that, what I call God's voice or the goddess's voice. And that is how you can navigate in peace. Find the peace within to stay in sanity. In the insanity. Right. See there, I like a joke too, Dr.
From insanity to insanity. I love that. That was beautifully put. Addressing the shadow, looking at the shadow, not letting it overpower you. But what I'm also hearing you say is you can see and really hold the shadow without being in fear of it. The fear comes from the power hungry, maybe collective that makes us want to fear the shadow. Is that what you're saying? Where do you think that comes from? That fear of the shadow?
A lot of what we learn is that darkness is scary, isn't it? Every religion. Some of it is learned behavior. Maybe ancestrally, we carry the fear of darkness because in the darkness we might not see the animals that come towards us. But burn the fire, have the light within the darkness, and you can see. If you stay inside your light, no darkness around you can ever really harm you, but you have to stay in the light.
Yeah, you have to stay in your power and not give your power away. Thank you, Joy. Dr. B, did you want to respond?
So what is the light? Well, that relates to the polarities. Think of a teeter-totter. You've got the two seats that go up and down. These are the tensions of the opposites of the polarities, the light and the dark, good and bad, right and wrong, all of that, inclusion, exclusion. Where the balance point is, it's the fulcrum in the middle that doesn't move as these go like this. And so what is that fulcrum in the middle? And this comes back to what you were saying, Joy. The soul's authority and the soul's autonomy. And here's where I think we can borrow from the New Testament, the Christian text, John 8:32. And you will hear my words and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The truth is the power that all of us seek and all of us have within ourselves. How would we define truth? Well, truth is evident and present when our thinking and our thoughts align with what is, the fact of what is, the reality of now. We have a capacity to access that within our own psyches. There are different ways of doing that, mentioned at times during our talk today. Truth is the light, and truth is knowable and accessible internally. When you have that sense of what's true, then you truly are your own authority in life. You don't need to believe in what somebody else says, especially these days with social media. Believing something happens when we don't have our own direct experience and we're taking somebody else's experience to be the truth. That's when we believe. Otherwise, we know. If we don't know, then we can ask a few simple questions. Does this have value or utility? Is this beneficial or is this not beneficial? Is it likely, like with aliens from other planets and so on? Is it likely? Well, it's likely. Can we say it exists? Well, if you have your own direct experience, yes, then you don't have to believe somebody else. But we don't have to believe that there are these other worlds with aliens. We can just say, well, it's likely or it's not. Statistically, the odds are highly in favor of yes. So truth is the fulcrum point and the balance point between the opposites. This reminds me of going back into 1950s when we had the Cold War with Russia. And I go back that far, and I remember that. Jung was asked, do you think that humanity is going to destroy itself with atomic weapons? And he paused for a moment and he said, well, that depends on how many individuals in our society can balance the tension of the opposites within themselves. This is what you were saying earlier, Joy. The more of us there are on this planet that value truth, that value community, that really know how to love, and we'll define love in a moment because we use that word so freely, the more that can have an impact on the deeper consciousness in humanity, what Jung called the collective unconscious. Just a little note for a frame of reference for the rest of the talk. We human beings are like icebergs in the ocean. We have the visible part of the ocean that we see, and that's what we would say our conscious mind and our personalities and our interactions, chosen interactions come from that, largely from that. But then there's this deeper part underneath the ocean that we don't see, the iceberg that's hidden underneath. And that's what we call the personal unconscious, that part where the shadow exists as an individual experience. And then we have this thing called the collective unconscious, which actually is the birth of the psyche itself and buoys us all up. And that would be the ocean itself. The ocean is that common thing that all icebergs float in. by ocean currents and its temperature and its saline content that helps determine where things move. So when our conscious mind aligns with the deeper reality that we're all one community on this planet, we can have an impact at the deeper level. The personal sense that comes with that is a sense of making a contribution. I'm no longer helpless in a situation like this. I can't say, well, I don't have control over that. It's true. But I do have control over my own thoughts and feelings. Through that, I can influence things at a deeper level of the spirit, which exists as part of the collective unconscious.
I love the way you put that, because it is really about staying out of the unhappiness that people are pulling you into and staying in your own and bringing your own joy and authenticity into that collective unconscious place, which we call the energy field, so to speak.
Right.
Because being unhappy is not going to help the collective, but finding your own joy within you can actually add a little drop of happiness into a sea of unhappiness. And if we get enough drops of those, we can actually do something.
That's right. Yes, we can do something consciously in our interactions with others, and we can do something at the deeper level of the unconscious. Happiness. I would like to define happiness as a state of freedom from internal conflict. There's nothing to interfere with my happiness. And so I would say the normal state for the human being is a state of happiness. When we're not happy, that's because we have disturbing or distressing feelings, whether it's anxiety or fear or sadness or anger, hurt, and so on. The distressing feelings typically are what would leave us feeling unhappy. Fortunately, we now know that these disturbing feelings are actually the intelligence of the body, the brain, and the universe telling us human beings that we have a story in our mind or a thought in our mind that's at odds with reality in some way. These disturbing feelings are actually the intelligence of the universe learning us to correct our faulty understanding of things and thinking. So I'll just give a simple analogy for that. So I had a 1956 Pontiac, was my first car. Every 3 weeks, my oil light's going on. So what would I do? I'd go into the gas station, open the hood. It's down 2 quarts, put 2 quarts of oil in. Oil light goes out. These days, we'll take our car to the mechanic. It says check engine light. We go in, they fix whatever that is, and the light goes out. Our feelings are like the oil light on the dashboard of the car, the check engine light. The feelings themselves are not the problem. The feelings are signals that say the problems in the brain, just like the oil light or the check engine light says the problem's in the engine. Problem in the engine, oil level's too low, so we adjust the oil level. Problem in the brain, thinking's at odds with reality and truth. And what we need to do is align the thoughts with reality and truth, and then the signal will go down. The origin of a feeling is a thought or a series of thoughts, not necessarily in our full consciousness. Thoughts create feelings, unless, of course, you have a physical condition, a metabolic condition, or something like that. We can have biological activation of certain feelings. But normal everyday living, it's our thoughts that create our feelings. That's why you can go to, let's say, a speech or a political rally, and some people are booing and some people are cheering. It's the same thing, but we interpret it differently, and so therefore we get a different feeling. You go to a movie, somebody said, I love that movie, fantastic. Another person said, that was the worst movie I've ever seen, horrible. Same movie, same input, same words, same images, different interpretations, therefore different feelings. So the world does not give us our experience in life. Experience is determined by the feelings that we get, which are determined by the thoughts that we attach to. Okay. So I just want to point that out, that when our thoughts are aligned with truth, fact, and reality, there is no disturbance. Our time, sense of time, there is no time in the universe. Time is a concept, and it's a construct, meaning if we have a good concept, we can use it productively. So we have the concept of time. We can use time as a construct, which means we arrange to meet today to do this at a particular time, right? That's the construct of time. There is no time in the material world. There's only now. Past is mental, future is mental. Can we prove that? Sure. Can anybody raise their hand in the future? I doubt it. If the future is 5 seconds from now, see if you can raise your hand in 4 seconds from now. 3, 2, 1. Is this the future or is this the present? I'll never put that hand down in the future, but I can plan to put it down in the future. I can plan to put it down in 5 seconds. 5 seconds is future, it's mental, right? Okay, so 5 seconds now, boom. Is it the future or is it present? You see, there is no time in the universe. There is no past, there is no future, but there is now. This hand represents the movement of time. And this hand represents thinking or thought, and it's aligned with what is in the moment. You can't have any conflict. The word conflict comes from the Latin prefix con, meaning with, and flict means to strike. So to have conflict, I have to have duality or something striking something. Right? So here, there's no conflict. Freedom from internal conflict is happiness. It's a state of sustained happiness. So where does conflict come from? Thought now creates psychological time through memory, past, or through imagination, future. And if that past thought, idea, memory is at odds with fact, truth, and reality, I'm going to have a disturbing feeling. And if imagination of the future is at odds with what is, I'm going to have a disturbing feeling. Right? So the point is, the world does not give us our experience in life. It's the interpretations this brain gives that gives us the experience, gives us the feeling. Coming back to your point, Joy, each of us need to really know how to access our internal truth and be our own authority so that we don't become victims of the confusion that's going on in the world these days. The crass materialism that has us trying to achieve that way out there, or this sadness that follows us from the past, right? But to learn how to find what's true now for ourselves and those around us, and free ourselves from the prison of time.
Both of you said so many beautiful things, and I had so many questions in there. The number one thing, Dr. B, that I pulled away from what you said is that doing the psychological work, doing the internal work is so important too. Where are those thoughts coming from? Those thoughts are triggering a feeling. And if you're acting from that feeling, let's say so many people are charged and there's a football game happening. There's a thought that the other team is bad, my team is better. Those are triggering feelings within us, and people need to be aware of what thoughts are guiding their life. That's such important deep work that we can do from the mental health psychological perspective, to do the deeper questioning of who are we? Where is this thought coming from, whether it be childhood, societal norms? We're comprised of all these different ideas. Joy, from what you're saying, which I think is so beautiful too, is that direct connection to soul and spirit is so powerful in that questioning, because then you may ask, well, then who am I if I'm not this thought? If the other team isn't bad, right? If the other team isn't bad and I'm not opposing someone, then who am I? Who am I when there's no internal war going on, when there's no fight to be had? That's when what Joy is saying is leaning into spirit, really leaning into, well, I come from this source. And what is that source? Takes you on a deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper journey. It's so beautiful. And that's why I wanted to have both of you on today. It's like a holistic view of healing, and truly asking ourselves the question of like, who am I and where do I come from is important. Joy, I see you nodding.
Dr. B and I are coming from very different worlds, but we seems to share a lot of common belief systems that you see across all kinds of philosophies. We can be a therapist, we can be a channeler, we can be a physiotherapist, we can be all kind of different things, but we can still have that same belief system that we are all whole inside if we just allow ourselves to be, and we can all heal ourselves through different modalities. And I'm not a believer in one way. Of course, being a spirit channeler, I always going to say if I can only afford one, I'll go with spirit. But I'm a big believer in tapping into all modalities. That I have my own therapist, I have my own astrologist, I have my own healer. All of that is necessary for me to work through my own things, because even though it's very easy to channel for others, doesn't mean that you're not going to have issues coming up in your own life. But you got to do what you preach, and you have to work at it, and you have to stay centered, and you have to believe that there are solutions within you, and only you can truly find those. But that doesn't mean that you're not seeking help from people in different modalities. I said, if you break a leg, don't do just massage, do physiotherapy, do acupuncture, take some herbs, take some painkillers. You do all of it. The same thing is with the soul. You bring in everything that can help you. From mindfulness, what I was hearing in a lot of the way you were explaining time, that is truly less conflict between the mental and that aspect, because if it only stays in the now, then you can take the learning from the past and you can have preparation for the future, but you don't have to lose yourself in either the past nor the future. Because the future, even though I do particular readings, I will say that unless Spirit has come and told you exactly what's going to happen in the future, you still have very much creative power over your future, but it starts in the now. Yesterday I had a learning, then I bring that into the now, and I apply that for my planning for the future. But I don't lose myself in either direction, because that's not going to help me create the future I want. And I create it from the now. This is on a podcast, and I don't know who to credit for this, but they said it so well. Everybody is afraid of going back in time, and in case they have a butterfly effect, doing the most minor little change will change their current future. But a lot of people are so afraid of doing any change in the current time that can actually affect the future. So you see that they are afraid of going back and changing the current, but that means that you're admitting that every small change can actually affect your future, but you create it now. And I'm a big believer in that. Believe that time is neither here nor there. The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. And you have now. But it doesn't mean that there's a balance between living like there is no tomorrow and saving and planning like there is. You have to find a balance between those two things. Because if you gamble that tomorrow doesn't exist, you're not exactly going to create a storyline that works for the future. But if all you do is plan for the future, then you're not creating a life in the now.
Would it be useful here if I demonstrate that the future comes out of the present and not the past? Time is a function of the Earth rotating on its axis, right? So if I'm facing south midday, the Earth is spinning on its axis 360 degrees in one day, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's noon here and I want to eat dinner at 6, that would be 90 degrees. I'd be facing, the Earth spins here, and now at 6, I can eat dinner.
Right.
I want to go to bed at midnight. I have to wait till the Earth is spun this far. Breakfast at 6 in the morning, I have to wait till it spins 270. And if I have lunch with you the next day, I have to wait till the Earth takes me 360 degrees in a circle. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's the spin of the Earth that takes us into what we call the future. Okay. So, like I said, if I want to eat dinner at 6, I have to wait till the Earth actually spins 15 degrees every minute to get me to that 6 hours time. Okay, so here's the point. There is no past as a material reality. There is no future as a material reality. Nobody watching this who's sitting down is ever going to get up in the future and leave the room. They can plan to get up from the chair and leave the room, because planning is mental and future is mental. But when you actually do it, it's present. Okay, so here's the point. So if I'm clapping my hands in the present and the Earth is spinning me into the future, what's my future going to be?
Clapping your hands.
As long as I'm clapping my hands now and the earth is spinning me into that thing we call future, my future will be clapping.
Yeah.
If I want the future free from clapping, when do I give myself that freedom from clapping? The only time I can do it is now.
Right.
And if I'm not clapping now, what's my future going to be?
You're not going to be clapping.
Freedom from clapping. And now I'm bored, so I snap fingers. So as long as I'm snapping my fingers now, what's my future?
Snapping
Snapping
fingers.
fingers. If I want a future free from snapping fingers, when do I give myself that future?
No.
Now. And I'm not doing that. Now I have memory of clapping hands and snapping fingers, right? Which of those two is going to be my future?
Whatever you choose.
Neither
In the
one.
now, yes.
Neither one of them will be my future. In other words, I don't have to be a prisoner of time. I do not have to bring my past into my future.
Mm-hmm.
So neither one will be my future unless I do it when?
No.
Now.
Yeah, that's a very important concept. It truly is.
So coming back to what you're saying, Joy, yeah, that what we do now is so important. Doesn't matter as much what we did yesterday. We can learn from what we did in the past. And if it's a positive past, bring it into the present and carry it into the future. If it's a negative past, know how you want your future to be and bring that future into your now. Start living it now. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Joy, you're new to this concept. I've seen Dr. B demonstrate this before. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the way he demonstrated that.
Brilliant demonstration. I think the simpler you can make something to make your point, the better. And it was simple.
Good.
But brilliant. Yes.
Beautiful.
Because we don't need fancy. Fancy does speak to some people that are of high mental capacity, but plain demonstration of simple facts can bring everyone together. It does, the concept of living is actually quite simple. And we have so many religious leaders, so many political leaders, so many powerful people talking up and down and back and forth about very brilliant and complex things. And it gets us nowhere.
Right.
It gets us nowhere. A simple demonstration that shows exactly what you're dealing with. And you go, that's easy. I can do it. Well, then you have gotten to people.
Right.
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Especially my generation, millennials and Gen Z, we're inundated with information constantly. There's so much information. There's so many thought leaders, and everybody wants your attention. That's what the world we live in these days, data, attention, downloading apps. That's how people make money. There's so much information, but when there's that simple technique that someone shares, and the reason why I'm even starting this podcast is to do this type of thing, that makes the world of difference in people's lives, to have just a simple technique that's full of love and truth and just works. Have it broken down like that, especially time and presence. What you're doing, the habits that you have today, they're going to be going with you in the future. You can't just wish for it. You have to actually put in the work. Maybe you're at 100% in your habit today and you've lowered it down to 90%. That 90% is going to go with you tomorrow. It's not overwhelming to concept at all. I understand it. I feel good with it. More people need that, especially with Gen Z and Generation Alpha. People are so anxious and depressed and feel so overwhelmed by the information out there. That's what I want to go into next. What are some simple strategies for people who are overwhelmed, overstimulated, feel like the world is too much?
Of social media.
That's one. Yeah.
Turn it up, because it really goes back to the first thing I said.
As we're on
Don't give
media.
your power away. If the energy is within me, in my container, if we are in the soul or the soul are in us, that's a different discussion. But for this purpose, let's say that I am the energy box. And when I'm sitting in silence with myself, it's just me and whatever I call God at the moment, me and source. When I turn on social media, I am giving my mental power away first. Then I'm giving my emotional power. It makes me even lose my power over my soul. And that goes with all of that. Of course, I'm going to feel anxiety. I just get stressed thinking about it. The first thing I said to you this year was sit back, hold on to your power, and watch the show. Do not engage. And if you engage, you're going to engage in that unconscious collective where you're going to bring in happiness and bring in your joy or your life. That's the only thing you can do this year for most of us. There are a lot of other people that might be in different positions, so everything is also an individual. When I say turn off social media, I mean it. It got to me the other day about, I know we're not talking politics, but the tariff, because I had told my husband, this is what's going to happen. This is a step A, B, C, D. And then I saw the steps being played out and I got a little excited, so I started to listen to the news and I started to there. And an hour later, I was like, I just gave my power away because I was totally involved I was involved because, hey, yeah, see, I'm right. And I have to say, I still like that, but still, it made me give my power away.
Yeah, that's such a good, brilliant point, Joy. I did a session with Joy earlier this year. I would say we even called the fires in the session. I live in Southern California, and she's like, there's a lot of fire around you. To stay centered in these times, because I've been in that position of just observing everything going down, whether it be politically, ecologic, all the shifts that are happening with the climate. And you become so overwhelmed when you turn on the news or you turn on your phone and everybody's talking about it. Turn off the phone, connect with source first, connect with your body. I'm a therapist too, as many of you know. It's more of like the somatic experience. If you're sitting on your phone all day, somatically you haven't tuned into your body, you're out of your body. The best medicine, especially for women, is to come back into your body, really ground into the now, and move from a grounded space and not in a fearful, anxious space where you're doom scrolling all day long. Step away from social media. For those of you who can, maybe some folks, their role is required to show up in the way that they show up. For the majority of us, especially if you're a very sensitive spiritual being, your phone is not going to be your best friend. To really develop a boundary with the phone, that's a great tip, especially for these times. Dr. B, do you have any reflections?
This goes back into the beginning of our conversation. Joy was saying something like, well, life is not about money and the more you can accumulate popularity and all of that. A woman came in to see me one day and started the session with this. She said, I've been asking all of my friends this question, and I'd like to ask it of you. Is that okay? And I said, sure. What's the question? She said, what's the meaning and purpose of life? I said, okay, give me a little quiet time. I haven't asked myself that before. So after about 30 seconds, this is what came. And this is 30 years ago. And my answer has not changed since. The meaning and purpose of life is to find right relationship to self and other, and to expand consciousness of self to include all. Now, what does that mean?
Yes,
right
please break that
relationship
down.
to self and other, and to expand consciousness of self to include all. Well, the first part, relationship to self, has to do with developing the awareness that you are your own authority in life. You are your own authority in life. What does the word authority mean? Authority has the same root meaning as the word author. The root meaning is one who generates ideas. To be an authority in life, you need to be generating ideas. And we're always generating ideas about what we think is in our best interest in life. This is a critical piece here that is important to understand. There's a difference between having desires and having wants. Desires happen in us and to us all the time. We desire this object, that object, this person, this activity, and so on, right? So desire really is memory of a past experience that we project forward in time. And if it was a pleasant, positive experience, we would like to have that or something like it again. If it was a downer or meaningless experience, we prefer something different for our future, something coming from another place. Desire is memory of past experience. We project forward in time. We don't choose our desires. They're automatic. They happen in us and to us. But we can't choose what to do with a desire, whether to act on it or not. When we take an action on a desire or plan to take an action when the time is right, that's what we call a want. Want is a desire that we move into action, either through overt behavior, doing it now, or planning it. I don't just desire dinner tonight. I want dinner tonight. What makes it a want? Well, I'm planning to do it, as I can't do it till the earth spins me another couple hours till it's dinner time. One more clarification here. I'm a 300-pound diabetic. I'm on a health plan. My favorite dessert is New York raspberry cheesecake. I'm at a wedding and they bring it to me for dessert. I have an immense desire to eat that delicious cheesecake. I also have a desire to be on my health plan, lose weight, and get my blood sugar normal level. So now I have two competing desires. If I eat the cheesecake, that means I wanted to have the pleasure of this cheesecake, even though I had a desire to be healthy. Conversely, if I put the cheesecake down or I don't touch it, I say, I have this immense desire for this cheesecake, but I don't want it. I want to be healthy. I want to lose weight. I want to have my blood sugar down. So desires and wants, very different. Very different. That's a critical distinction because I'm now going to make a statement that's radical. We are always doing what we want to do. We are never, ever doing anything we don't want to do. And I'm going to say that again. We are always doing what we want to do. We are never, ever doing anything we don't want to do. So I'll ask the two of you, can you think of anything that you did in the past week that you didn't want to do?
I am generally just do what I want to do. So that's because I'm very much in tune with who I am and what I want. I do things because I choose to do them.
We also have another synonym for want, which is like. Hey, I want that. Well, let's go get it. No. What I mean is I like it. I'm not going to spend that money for it, though. Yes, you picked it up beautifully. We are always doing what we want to do. I've had people say, well, I don't want to pay taxes. And I say, well, why did you pay them? Well, I didn't want the IRS to come after me. Well, you wanted to pay your taxes in order to not have IRS come after you. Well, I don't want to work. Well, really? Are you going to work? Yeah. Well, why are you working then? Why are you choosing to work? We'll use the word choose. Mm-hmm. Well, I have rent to pay and bills to pay and so on. Well, you want to pay your rent? Well, yeah. Therefore, you want to work in order to pay your rent. We are never, ever doing anything we don't want to do. There are no have-tos in life. Zero. Some people said you have to breathe. I said, no, you don't have to breathe. The body's breathing automatically. It's the brain that's breathing. Right. And setting up the breathing of the diaphragm. And then some people decided to not go on living and they stopped breathing. You have to eat. Yeah. People have gone on starvation protests and died. You don't have to do anything. You want to because you don't want to experience something worse than you think that would happen than if you didn't do it. Now, what does this mean? It has to do with authority. The word authority, generator of ideas. You're always generating ideas of what's in their best interest. You are never doing anything you don't want to do, and there are no have-tos. You are your own authority in life. You're it. So take responsibility.
Oh, I love it. Because I say it, but I use the word choice. You always have a choice. And my favorite thing is, well, let's say that I was on a ship, the ship sank, and now I have to swim across to that island over there. I'm a very good swimmer. I know I can make it. But I also know that this is in Australia, so we have great whites over there and we have saltwater crocodiles there. And I am more likely than not to make it to that island, but I still have a choice which way I choose. And I have changed my choice recently because I always said I would go the crocodile way because at least they would take me down for a deep roll before they ate me. I just didn't want to be eaten alive, which is a whole thing for me. But now I realized that maybe the shark won't attack me. Now my choice is I will swim through the shark-infested place. It is still a choice, and you just have to know that sometimes both your choices or all your choices suck.
Okay, now you just used the word have to. Now I'm glad you did, because you don't have to do that. Replace the word have to with it's beneficial. The minute we say I have to, that posits an external authority. But if I change it to it's beneficial to, I am the authority, making the decision of what I believe is in my best interest.
When I say I feel that I'm coming from myself. That's really where I'm feeling it. Make the choice and understand that you made the choice.
Take responsibility.
Don't hate yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Learn from the experience if there was something to learn from it, and move forward, understanding that you probably made that choice because it seemed like the best option for you based on the circumstances and the knowledge you had at that point. Why would you hate yourself for that? You would have compassion if somebody else made that choice in the same circumstances. But why can't you have that compassion for self and understand that, yeah, we are not made perfect. We are here to learn. Hence, there will be experiences where we might not always choose the best choice in hindsight.
That's right. Yes. And then we learn from that. The implication here now is this. This comes back to the social media point. When we get addicted to the social media, or when we believe what we hear on the news, TV, other forms, we're projecting our authority onto those people that are telling us these things. And then we're acting as if what they're saying must be true. No, be your own authority. Don't project your authority onto somebody else just because they're popular or they have this role.
Right.
Find out for yourself what's true. Take the time to look and say, what's the evidence for this? Does that hold up?
But Dr. Berry, don't you think that some people choose the external authority because it sort of, they feel it alleviates them from taking responsibility, and it is easier to blame someone else than to stand tall in own choices?
Yes, there are some people that do that. So that's one factor.
Like making the government your parent.
They're used to having an external authority and belief systems. They've grown up in the families that produce that, in schools that produce that, in churches that produce that, where our brains have been programmed into believing that somebody else knows more than us or knows what's better.
Right.
And for some period of time, that's true as children. Not all the time. We can have faulty learning, but at some point, as we get older, we do have the responsibility for finding out what's meaningful and true and base how we live our lives on that, not just because somebody else told us.
I love that. I love this discussion so far, and hopefully we'll have more podcasts with both Dr. B and Joy. These are important discussions, especially the one on personal responsibility. A lot of us like to push that responsibility off on someone else because then that's what we're used to. We parentify the government, we'll parentify other people and make them into the parent who knows better. The government knows best. And when the government abandons you or something happens within that, it causes inner havoc. It causes dissonance within yourself. When you take your personal responsibility back and nurture the inner children and the parent within, FS's internal family systems therapy really helps you do this. You find the devil within yourself. You find the mom within yourself, the dad, and all these different parts. So then you don't have to find the external person for that, right? Because you understand that shadow within yourself. That's also such an important part of the spiritual journey and finding yourself going from insanity to insane, becoming sane again. To honor that there is all these different parts within us, and we'll find different people and situations outside of ourselves to heal those parts. I'm loving that discussion on personal responsibility. Is there anything you guys would like to add on to that?
It seems like we are very much in alignment, all three, on what is personal responsibility. We might come at it from different ways, but I do believe that we all have that spiritual anchor of believing that God is not external, it's internal. And when God is internal, how can you not be responsible? How can you not exist in your own creation? Because that's your anchor. And that's what I truly mean when I say connected. And that is really the job of the soul, is to remember that connection so you are never separate. So you are God and God is you.
The kingdom of heaven is within and among you. It's not out there. It's not after you die. It's right here and now.
That's beautiful. That's what all three of us can also agree on, is that we all believe that this is heaven. This is God. We are
I
God.
don't believe anything. I don't believe anything.
Can you explain that, Dr. B? What do you mean by that?
We believe something when we take another person's word for it, not having had our own experience. Do I believe that this is the body of a white Caucasian male? No, I know it is. Do I believe that each one of us are an expression of the creative universe, one family of beings? No, I don't believe that. I know that, and I can tell you how I know that. Everything in the universe that's material is made up of atoms. We are organisms. Organisms are made up of organs, physical organs, stomach, lungs, brain, and so on. Organs are made up of tissue, right? Just like the tissue in the skin. Tissue is made up of cells. I mean, these are facts. I mean, we all know this. But cells are made up of compounds made up of molecules, which are made up of atoms. If you go back to the Big Bang Theory, the first atoms created were hydrogen, and hydrogen combined to make helium. Then that became our stars, right? The sun. And that those became furnaces, creating the other heavier elements like carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. So fast forward 13.8 billion years, and we have the human being on this planet. And the atoms that make up the human being are as follows. 66% of the atoms in the human body are hydrogen atoms, 26% are oxygen atoms. And here's our H2O, right? Combining to make water molecules. And then we've got 9% carbon atoms, 9.5. And then we have nitrogen atoms, 1.5 roughly. So we've got those 4 atoms, which were 4 of the 5 in the beginning of the universe. The other 1% of the atoms of the human body are made up of things like lithium and sodium, potassium, and so on. There are 7 more atoms. In other words, our organisms are made up of atoms, which are energy. So we are atomic beings. The whole of the material universe is atoms. What's the difference? There is no difference. That's where we could say, you are not part of the universe. You are the universe in a particular time-space point called Joy or Raman or Rob or Dr. B. That is a scientific fact. And if you want to deny it, ask how you have the electricity here. Ask how you can have airplanes flying you places. You can have rockets going out into space. That scientific knowledge is what I'm speaking of right now in terms of our understanding of quantum physics and molecular energy. So we are one family. So what people call God, we say mankind's made in the image of God. No, it's the reverse. Yeah. God's made in the image of mankind.
Right.
Projecting our understanding of life onto this being. But could it be that the universe itself has an intelligent order in it, which at the level of the organism also includes beauty, creativity, compassion, and love and intelligence? So I don't believe that there's a God. I know that there's an intelligent order to the universe, which at the organic level is compassionate because an understanding. We actually have mirror neurons in the brain, physical neurons in the brain that are connected with the ability to empathize. If those are missing, we have a sociopath. This is a biological fact here.
We are stardust.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like have it simple. We are stardust, and we truly are.
Yeah, so let's get to that gift of being in the universe and live it creatively, joyfully, and intelligently with love.
Right.
And love here, just to make it a little bit more concrete, love is the intelligent response to my fellow beings that has me include in my decision making, not just my well-being, but the well-being of those around me, because we are not separate from the whole. So love is intelligence in operation.
I speak a lot of divine love as Raman now. Divine love and compassion, which is a little different than earthly love between partners and all of that. It has maybe some of the same building blocks, but divine love is understanding that you are not separate. And hence, There isn't about me versus you. It's about us versus nothing.
Yes.
It's us creating together. We are here to create.
Yes.
That's all we're here to do. We are here to create. If we create through hate, want, lack, and healthy desires, we're screwed. If we together can create through love of the divine kind, compassion, and raise up and take care of everyone, well, then you actually have a world worth living in.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which we do if we don't interfere with it by overusing it and abusing it.
Right.
And wanting power over others.
That's not what we're here to do. Not at the spiritual level. Like, you can have abundance, but also not have it destroy the planet and hurt other
There's
people.
nothing wrong with abundance. In order to manifest, you actually have to work that out. You have to be in alignment with the now. That's really the true key of manifestation. If you are in that true manifestation, you can also manifest for the best of everyone. It's not really just about yourself.
For the greater good of all.
Yeah, I do not believe we're here to suffer.
Right.
Not for one moment do I believe that.
Suffering is the good thing when it's the suffering feelings of angry, hurt, sadness. But you have to have a distinction between the feeling and an emotion to understand this.
Mhm.
Feelings are the interior private experience. We don't choose feelings. They happen innocent to us. If we could choose feelings, I wouldn't have a practice.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being depressed. I'm going to be happy now.
Same.
They happen innocent to us. They're private. We don't know what anybody else is feeling unless it's communicated in some way. And the origin of the feeling is a thought or a series of thoughts, not necessarily in their full consciousness. And the function of that feeling is to expand our consciousness of ourself and situation so that out of that deeper understanding and clarity, we can have a more effective response taking place. So they're part of the intelligence system. That's why I use the oil light on the dashboard of the car example. Emotions are different. The word emotion comes from the Latin word emovere. E means away from, means to move. So to emote is to move a feeling away from the interior private to the exterior public. They have a different function. It's a communication function to inform others of our experience in a way that invites understanding and wins cooperation if we're seeking it. So two different functions, the intelligence department, the communication department. All feelings are good and right. How can it not be good and right to expand consciousness? Not all emotions are good and right because we can use those to hurt, manipulate people.
I don't think we're here to suffer, especially on a physical level, with hunger, with lack of, I don't even think we're here to experience lack of love. I think we're here to experience love. And I was talking about more of the material lack versus the feeling lack.
Yes, yeah. What I'm going to say now is also 100% agreeing with you. The suffering that we have as a result of erroneous thinking producing a feeling like hurt, sad, and so on, is meant to be temporary. It's there just to get us to make the internal changes. It is not meant to be prolonged. So let me put it this way. Painful feelings have a positive function. We don't want it to turn into suffering by not addressing the meaning behind the painful feeling. So then we can define suffering as pain extended through time as a result of ignorance or inability to make positive changes.
It's so interesting. I was going to make that distinction. You both were talking about two different types of suffering. And that what I've learned from Joy is feeling our feelings is never suffering. That's just part of being human, giving the human space to breathe and be. The distinction was that she was talking about suffering as in like we're not here to just rot away. Dr. B, what you were saying is that some folks, which is so true, we see this all the time, they like to present themselves as like their contentment is also just presenting to be happy or showing people that they're in constant state of joy. And what you're saying is we live on a spectrum that even expressing your sadness could bring about great contentment. You can be at peace in your body when you're feeling the truth of what's being experienced. True?
Yeah, so happiness is freedom from internal conflict, right?
Right.
That's
yeah.
the definition and we have no internal conflict, we're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Driving to work one day, very, very sad, suffering pain of loss. I forgot exactly what it was. And I was going to be teaching this stuff in the afternoon to somebody. And I asked myself,
Mm-hmm.
can I say I'm a happy man right now, even though I'm sad? And my answer was yes. I'm a happy man because I'm working with my sadness to understand where my thinking needs to be adjusted so that I can align with the truth of what is.
I want to do jazz hands to that. It's such an important concept because it's so important to make those distinctions. You can be content in expressing your grief because you're expressing your truth.
Make space for all feelings compassionately and with love.
Yeah. And that's part of why I think we are seeing so much chaos in the collective is that we suppress and repress so much.
Yes, we're afraid of our own feelings, you see. That's the
afraid of
source
our
of
feelings.
conflict intrapsychically, interpersonally, and internationally. We're afraid of our feelings.
We are.
If
Yeah.
we understand their
I
function,
call it the coffee press theory or the French press theory. You have a French press and you're supposed to make coffee. And if your feelings are always the old coffee and you never rinse it out and you never wash it, that coffee is going to get quite disgusting every time you add it. You can add as much coffee as you want, but you're still never going to get rid of those old coffee. You know, that, and it's just going to taste very, very bitter after a while. So I always say that you have to sort of stop, empty your feelings and deal with them.
yes, it's beneficial too. See, I'm trying to get that point across. There are no happy lives.
Yeah.
It sure is beneficial too.
And another part that both of you mentioned that really stuck out to me and what I truly believe in is that we're here to create beauty and harmony. There might be people on the planet who seem like they're actively destroying the planet and they're actively just super engaged in their shadow. The only way to combat that is to be in your own power, to be in your own authority, to take personal responsibility and to create beauty. And we don't mean superficial beauty, addressing our true authentic joy and living in that joy and expressing our feelings in the most beautiful, authentic way and truly, truly feeling safe in ourselves. Because if we can feel safe with ourselves, feel safe with our shadows, feel safe with the way I betray myself and feel safe with all of that, I can hold space for great joy and channel that beauty through. That was a very beautiful point I saw both of you bring up, and I agree with too. We're here to create and be co-creators. Like even right now, I think we're creating great beauty. We're having conversations that might spark something within someone, three different perspectives that share a common goal. It's like the river that goes to the ocean. We're all different rivers that go to the same ocean and come from the same ocean. And that's beautiful to see. This is how you can co-create. We all come from different backgrounds and just different upbringing, everything. And here we are agreeing on the same things. I really hope that folks got a lot out of this and to honestly let us know in the comments what you've thought about this discussion. I just find that this conversation was so helpful for me. So hopefully that's the same for the listeners and the ones who are watching this on YouTube. Hi for you too.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's been quite enjoyable to hear a lot of things, but from another perspective, because I feel that there aren't any really big areas where we are misaligning. There's a lot of alignment here. We might come at it from different places. To what you said, we don't want false positivity. I said about that French press, that's what happens if you have false positivity. You're not emptying your feeling, you're not understanding. I can't guarantee that you're going to be happier. I can't guarantee that your life is going to be easier. But as you are working and as you're coming more in line with your soul, trusting, not just having faith, but actually trusting in the process and start trusting in yourself, that you're going to have more tools to get through it. Whatever external happen, you can always lean back in and you will understand that, yes, you're going to have moments of pain. You're going to have moments of sorrow. Just because you become spiritual, that doesn't stop. Oh, I'm going to go spiritual now because then I'm never going to have pain and I'm going to manifest everything I want. Well, that's not what true spirituality is about. What you learn is that moments of time matters, but they also don't matter. that you have the power to go forward, whatever happened in that moment of time, by not giving your power away.
Absolutely.
And you're going to feel all the emotions. It doesn't stop. You're just going to be more centered in going through it. And that is going to make life smoother in many ways. So I've got to take a card for the world.
Please.
And I am
I love
using
that.
the fairy cards, actually by Doreen Virtue. Okay. So what we're here, this is all about raising your standard.
Ooh.
Raise your standards. And if you can see this, this is a picture of a fairy in contemplation, but you see the light, you see the darkness, you choose. What frequency is it that you want to live on right now? And what frequency is the next step for you? Because we don't go from grief to happiness overnight. We need to take the steps. We need to raise our frequency. There's many steps and many levels of enlightenment to pass through before you can fully come to a place where life becomes easy. But by consciously making that choice that today I raise my standards, I'm going to listen, I'm going to take back my power, I'm going to get it off the social media a little bit if I can, and I'm going to start trusting, not in my own feelings and thoughts, because they're all perspective, but I'm going to trust in my soul and the message from my soul. Then you are truly raising your standards.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joy. That was so beautiful. And Dr. V?
Very beautifully put. So I want to make a correction in what I said earlier. I 100% agree that we're not here to suffer. And I did misspeak by confusing two words, pain and suffering. Suffering is a result of not heeding the pain signals of the disturbing feelings and making the corrections that it's inviting. I 100% agree that life is not meant to be suffering. Suffering is, however, the intelligence of the universe saying, look, go back to those feelings that you were avoiding and go underneath and see what they're trying to get you to see more clearly. So I just want to make that clarification. The majority of the suffering on this planet is a result of not making this distinction between feelings and emotions. Feelings are part of the intelligence system. All feelings are good and right. The function is to expand consciousness. Emotions are part of the communication system. The function is to inform others of our experience in a way that invites understanding. All emotions are good and right because we can use them to manipulate, to hurt or harm people, mislead. When you understand the function of the feeling, we no longer need to fear our feelings. I don't need to fear sadness or grief or hurt. I'm invited to work with them so that I can understand things more objectively, or understand things with a greater sense of clarity that empowers me to take corrective action. If we understand this distinction, which the world does not understand yet because we use feelings and emotions as synonyms, and they are not. They're very, very different. That's why I can say, I don't fear any feeling I have, whether it's anger, even rage. If I have rage, that rage is there to create positive change. An internal anger feeling is always wanting a positive change to take place. I don't like the way things are. I want it to change to be different and better. That change is going to take place either in my environment, circumstances, or in my thinking, which is creating that feeling in the first place. And sometimes it's both. But it never has to turn into aggression. That would be the emotion, you see. But the anger feeling, no, that wants me to see things so I can make positive adjustments, not just for my well-being, but the well-being of those around me. But when we don't understand that, we fear our own feelings, and then we don't get the opportunity to address it, and then that's when we suffer.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we as humans could really focus on learning, how to funnel those feelings into productive change.
There's 3 questions of the editor. First is this true with verifiable evidence? Second is, are there other truths I need to keep in mind so I have an unbiased understanding of the whole of the situation? And thirdly, does it contribute to my well-being and the well-being of those around me to think this thought and take this action? So the editor can address any thinking that's sitting behind a distressing feeling. The other process is called focusing, experiential therapy or focusing. It works with the inner felt sense, which I would again describe as the intelligence of the universe as it manifests in the physical body, letting us know when we're on track and off track. It's like an internal compass. And if people want to go to focusing.org, they have workshops where they teach how to do this focusing process to access the felt sense and work with it. That's the intelligence of the universe, focusing.org.
Thank you so much to both of you. This was just such a pleasure for me and just brings so much joy to my heart to truly share your message and who you both are and your wisdom and put it out into the world. You both have made a huge transformative change in my life just with how you've both held space for me. And it's such an honor and treat to continue to share you both with the world. I hope to have more podcasts with both of you.
This was a lot of fun. Sometimes I get really excited and exuberant, and I kind of talk.
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm over here doing jazz hands and hearts. Like, that's who we are.
I truly, truly enjoyed meeting you. I've heard a lot about you. It is interesting to hear a lot of the same ideas, but with the scientific background, the research scientific background, because it validates.
Oh, they're totally parallel. Yes.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
Yes.
So beautiful.
So quantum physics and mechanics is really supporting the paranormal phenomena, spooky actions at a distance, which now we know is real. and confirming Eastern philosophy and spirituality.
I have always said that yesterday's magic is today's science, and today's science will be tomorrow's magic. Magic and science is just it's not discovered yet. When something isn't discovered yet, doesn't mean that it isn't true.
That's right. It's in the process of discovery.
Yeah.
I feel like we're creating the space where they all meet right now. Like, this is pretty awesome. We're creating a space where the magic and the science meet. There's great beauty in that.
I can really feel the truth of that, Raman. That was really well said.
How can people find you? I can also share your contact with folks if they reach out to me, but I would love for you guys to share.
That would be better for me because I'm like a short order cook in a very full restaurant with a line out the door.
My website, joywisdom.ca, it's the first place to look. If they need to contact me, and I'm willing to go either through the website or through you, that I think that would be the easiest for me.
So Joy has some sessions open, online courses, and I will leave my email in both the Apple, Spotify podcasts section, and also will leave my email on YouTube for their information and contact. And Dr. B, what do you have coming up?
Well, what I have coming up is the final editing of the book, so we can see about getting it published. There might be a documentary on it coming out. Depends on PBS has been contacted. It might happen depending on.
It will happen.
Yes.
It's been a process.
Yeah, and otherwise, my practice is closed. I can't work with anybody, and I'm not doing any teaching now. But maybe after the book and if the documentary, I'll start doing some teaching.
Perfect. Enjoy. Anything else? Any last thoughts from you?
No, I think this is a good place to end it. Just remember that it's up to you to raise your standards.
Right.
And Dr. B, how about yourself?
Love to everybody.
Love to everybody. That's what I would like to say. Go create to me.
Love is an intellectual awareness that we are all one family.
Choose love.
Choose the beauty way. Choose love.
Choose love.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe. If you would like to see more of these guests on this podcast, which you're definitely going to hear more about them, please just let us know what your questions are and maybe we can answer them next time. Thank you so much for joining.